I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the February 19, 2024 regular board meeting. I'm sorry, March 18, 2024 regular board meeting.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a second made. Do we have anyone who'd like to speak?
No.
We'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is comments from the library board.
Stephanie? I'd like to read a prepared statement. Lafayette Public Library should be a safe place for all patrons, especially our children. Recent news reports, social media, and those whose values are not in sync with what is best for the interest of our children have been peddling false narratives and a significant amount of misinformation regarding the decision of the Lafayette Library Board to revise the library's book display policy. It's time to set that record straight. The current Lafayette Public Library Board, by majority vote, recently revised and approved the Lafayette Public Library book display policy to align with the current Louisiana state law. The revised book display policy provides safeguards to protect children from graphic and sexually explicit material that may threaten the age of innocence and their well-being, and also respect parental authority. There's no appropriate way to display inappropriate and harmful sexually explicit material to children. Children in Lafayette are amongst our most vulnerable. They have a right to be protected from materials and content that sexualizes them, violates their age of innocence, and harms their well-being. The revised Lafayette Library book display policy protects our children and their well-being and respects parental authority and aligns with Louisiana state law.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Any other board members have any comments? Okay, the next item on the agenda is the interim director's report and comments. Ms. Monroe?
There were no new staff changes last month. The library is in various stages of filling the following positions: Librarian 2, Librarian 1, LTA 3, LTA 1, Director's Executive Secretary, and Library Director. The library is hard at work preparing for the 2024 Summer Reading Challenge. This year's theme is Adventure Begins at Your Library, and patrons will win prizes for reading 30 days over the summer. Anyone who reads 50 days will get a bonus prize. Please join us at the main library on Saturday, June 1st for the summer reading kickoff event from 10 to 2 p.m. It's not too late to buy a ticket for the annual Foundation Luncheon happening this Friday, April 19th, starting at 11 a.m. at the Petroleum Club. The theme is Become a Literary Legend, and they're launching a new endowment campaign called 24K in 24. I attended the Friends and Foundation board meetings. And finally, this is my final board meeting. My last day with LPL will be April 26, 2024. I greatly value the skills, abilities, and experiences working for LPL has afforded me over the past 11 years, and I've loved being able to serve my community in this capacity. This was a hard decision to make, but ultimately is the right choice for me right now. But you'll still see me around as a patron.
Thank you, Ms. Monroe. And we thank you for your many years of service to the library and to the community. And we appreciate you especially taking this interim director position as well, and we wish you the best. One question, I hope it's a good question to ask. Considering that the last couple meetings, there was a little, well, with the change to Cloud Library, I know we've gone over some bumps. So is there anything positive maybe to let us know? I know we're getting fewer complaints, that's a good thing.
I don't think there's any current updates. Cloud Library was recently acquired by OCLC, which I do think is a good thing. They have a bigger presence, and there may be some positive changes to like the interface for things like that, but that is all to be seen in the future. But I do think this acquisition is a good thing.
And we still encourage patrons, if, from one of the emails I read, you explained that they, even Libby at one time evolved based on feedback that they got from input. And so you do encourage users to also submit feedback in hopes that they would make positive changes like that to the system and make it.
Correct, yeah. We've been turning in any feature request to the app or anything like that. And some of them they say they're already working on, so who knows when they'll be rolled out, but I do anticipate changes in the future.
Thank you. And the next item on the agenda, the facilities update and financial report.
So for facilities, I have no new updates for either the South Regional Library or North Regional Library renovation projects. Those are still pending at the same status. As for the Northeast Library, our attorney is working on finalizing the land purchase. For the main library glass panel in the stairwell, I finally got it on order.
That took a long time.
It's been a process. And there's still an order process to go through as well, so, yeah. And we are also working on an agreement with the City of Karen Grove Police Department to provide us with security there at the North Regional Library. During our peak operation times, we had a lot of issues with a lot of students rolling into the building all at once. We have a private security officer out there. If there's a better presence with an officer, I think we'll have a better response and possibly a more responsible children's activities. And we just think it'll make a good impact for both the staff and the patrons there. It's similar to what we do here at Main Library. We had private security here, 3 at one time, and it's just not the same effect as having a police officer in the building. So we're hoping that minimizes incidents and just provides a better, safer environment for all of our patrons at that location.
Ms. Vice President, I have a question. So your peak operation times, you want an officer there like Monday through Friday?
Yeah,
Even Saturday or?
Monday through Saturday. We'll consider Saturday if it's needed or not. We'll adjust the schedule. But it'll be in the afternoons around the time the buses drop off all the students until about 5 or 6 in the evening.
And do you
About 4 hours. Yep.
Do you anticipate this just being during the school year, or do we also have the same problem of?
We'll consider the summer times. We'll see how things are working and work with the staff at that location to give us some feedback, and we can adjust the schedule as necessary.
Mr. Larry, is that gonna be in addition to the current security that's there? Or
No,
it's gonna be a new
it's
one?
gonna replace.
Okay.
Yes.
And so there'll be some sort of swap if that doesn't proceed into the winter time, we will bring that private security back or?
Possibly, yeah.
Okay.
We'll
And
consider that option.
What's the cost difference between them? Is it,
The contract rate for private security is $13 to $14 an hour versus Karen Grove police officers charge about $45 an hour.
yeah, so it's pretty substantial.
Yeah, well, you're getting an officer.
Sure. And there's money in the budget for that?
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the facilities update? The financials?
Okay, our current fiscal year, 2024, beginning November 1st, 2023 through October 31st, 2024. I ran the fiscal report for you, including your packet as of April 11th. Our revenues are $12.6 million and our expenses are $5.4 million. Revenues are about $1 million more than last year. Expenses are about the same. So we're doing really good.
The same as last year.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Michelle. Okay, the next item, new business reported for the Director Search Committee. So we have received 6 applications for the director position, 3 being from within the state, 3 being outside of the state. If you remember from our last meeting, the board, the search committee presented to the board the proposed plan of using LinkedIn as the primary advertising source, thinking that it would reach the broadest target that we were going for and that it was the best option. The board approved that. In addition to that, we did a $400 subscription for the month of with I Need a Librarian Job, for that to be posted at the top. So that was accomplished, but we did run into a little bit of problems with LinkedIn. And Mr. Moore, can you give an update on that?
Yes, ma'am, I sure can. So Ms. Monroe and our staff, our IT staff, looked into it, and it apparently seems like we don't have the credentials to get back into that account. And I know they were trying to get into that, but I think they came to an impasse and they're not going to be able to get into that at this point.
Yeah, whenever the LinkedIn account was created by whoever in the system years ago, those credentials were never passed on. I was able to be made an admin, but that apparently does not give me the authority to post a job as the Lafayette Public Library. And I just don't know if posting a job not attached to the library would have the same impact, and then it would be attached to my personal account.
Thank you. So I think what we're going to try to do upon further discussion is I'll try to engage with the IT department. I do have some background and see if I can maybe assist further. Typically, most of these platforms have a way of going in and reassuming those accounts with certain validations and whatnot. So we're going to delve down in a little bit more because we do believe that could add some value and bring some additional applicants for us.
Thank you. So with that in mind, the original close date was April 30th. However, we have not even been able to take advantage of what the board voted on of advertising through LinkedIn. So I would like to make a motion to extend the date to May 30, or May 31 rather, for full month, so that we can have the advertisement done through LinkedIn. Mr. Moore thinks he can get something solved in a couple weeks, hopefully. Yeah. And then what we would do for the I Need a Library Job posting, we can repost that one with the new extension date. It would not be at the top of the page, but it still would be on the page. On the day that we post it, it would be at the top of the page, but then it would drop down. Is that correct, Ms. Monroe? Did I say that properly?
Yes, I think the 30 days expires on April 25th.
Okay.
And from there, we could send an additional email to do the free posting again.
Okay. Thank you. Do any of the board members have questions about my motion? I'd like to move that we extend the date to May 30th so that we can take advantage of the LinkedIn advertisement.
May 31.
May 31, thank you, Mr. Jones.
I second that motion.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Do we have any comments, Mrs. Sober?
Regarding the director's search.
Yes, ma'am.
Mary Liv Garcia.
Well, I'm glad that you've gotten 6 applications. That's better than what Mr. Carlson projected to the House committee that we attended about a week and a half ago. I do want to say that House Bill 168 is not going to make your job any easier. And that bill, and I'm sure all of you are aware of what it's about, basically eliminates the requirement by revision in state law to require an MLIS degree for any library director position. Those of us that are library supporters, and most librarians that I've talked to, do not feel that that's a good idea. And frankly, at the House Municipal Affairs Committee, there was credulity about why that was needed as well, with many of the members from different parts of the states asking if this was simply a Lafayette Parish library situation. We were able to clarify in our personal comments before the committee that the budget and the salary is certainly laudable. It's adequate for the job, for the size of the budget that you face. It's the environment that has been frankly discouraging to applicants. So I hope that you're able to overcome that, but I don't want you to, what we don't want is for the MLIS requirement to be dropped in an attempt to put someone into that position that is a favored party and not qualified or certified as an MLIS library director. So thank you for that.
Claire Delton.
Claire Delcom, homeowner, taxpayer. It's interesting that you all had a concern about security and the private pay, private security wasn't able to take care of things as well as when you get official police officers. It sounds similar to not requiring a real librarian to be a librarian, dumbing it down, and not having someone with adequate qualifications, with the education to fully be what they've trained for. So I think that there's so much in Louisiana that I've seen where we keep dumbing it down in education. You don't have qualified people, and you really should.
That's the end of public comments for that. So we have a motion and a second on the table. We'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the next item for business is the Northeast Library Community Committee.
I have a point, well, go ahead, I'm sorry, let me I'll reserve for the moment.
Ms. Arsenal?
Okay, well, I was going to say James is going to be the committee chair for the Northeast Regional Library Community Committee.
And he's been appointed since, I think for a while now,
Yes.
so he's chair.
Yeah, would you like me to clarify that process? So while I was in the office of president, I had appointed James as the chairman for the Northeast Regional Committee. And he and I met several times to come up with first mission statement and then second proposed people who would be on the board and how many, et cetera, on the committee and how many. That never got off the ground because I'm not in that office anymore. So this, I guess this is a good point to interject. Under Article 4, Section 4 of our bylaws, the only person who can appoint members to a committee or create a committee is the president, not board members. So just to let the public know, the board itself has zero authority to create a committee or to appoint members of a committee. That's strictly reserved to the office of the president. So and I'll leave that, and I'll leave it right there.
And so James has remained the chair, and now Ms. Arsenal is part of that committee as well with the approval of the president.
Okay. So with the approval of the president, we would like members who will be serving on that committee to be James Thomas, Ella Arsamon, Consuela Gaines, Mary Liv Garcia, A.B. Rubin, Ken Stansberry, and Alton Trahan. If that is acceptable to the board president. And we will probably have our first meeting next month. The announcement for that meeting will be on the library website and Facebook page when it is scheduled. And I'd just like to say I'm looking very forward to working with all people who are going to be on this committee. But all of you in this audience are very welcome to attend our meetings, and we want to hear what you have to say, resources that could help people on the northeast side of Lafayette. So thank you so much. Oh, absolutely.
Thank you, Ms. Arsamah. And we also thank those members of our community who have agreed to participate and serve in that capacity on the committee. Okay, the next item, under new business, C, DVD checkout period. The board will be asked to approve extending the DVD checkout period from 1 week to 3 weeks. Ms. Monroe?
Yes, so our DVD collection over the past 5 years, the circulation numbers have reduced by about 58%. They still check out well, over 300 checkouts a year. So that's actually more than I think our adult fiction books check out. So those are very healthy numbers. But because they're not checking out as often, even though we have drastically reduced the amount of DVDs we purchase and the amount of copies we purchase, we are still struggling for shelf space. So we think increasing the checkout period from 1 week to 3 weeks theoretically should keep them off the shelf longer and allow the shelves to not be as crammed.
Sarah, do you see this reduction in the checkouts of the DVDs? Has that been kind of a steady decline over the years?
It's been pretty steady. I want to say from last year to this year, it was around 10%. I can't remember exactly, but I feel like it's been pretty steady each year. It's really just with the how popular streaming services are. Everyone subscribes to something and they can find just about anything online. I still think DVDs are important to have because not everyone has streaming services or all the streaming services can afford them, but it has cut into how many check out regularly.
I can attest to the fact that when we would go to the library and check out DVDs, for me it was frustrating that I only got a week for my DVD but 3 weeks for the book, so I either had to make another trip or extend it online. Or no, I don't know if you could extend it online.
You should have been able to,
Okay.
but yeah, this is the whole idea is to make it match the 3 weeks of the book, so they don't have to come back early.
I think it's great. Does the board have any questions? I will make a motion to approve extending the DVD checkout period from 1 to 3 weeks. We have a second. Ms. Hebert, do we have any comments?
Ryan Broussard.
Hello. I guess touch anything or anything like that. Okay. So, hi. My name is Ryan Broussard. I am an employee of this Lafayette Public Library system, so I can kind of attest to what Ms. Sarah Monroe is talking about right here, about kind of how important it would be to extend the checkout period. I kind of decided to speak because I actually just was not sure if y'all would support that or not, and I just wanted to, reinforce how important it is because yes, we are having to discard DVDs that are brand new because we do not have enough space to be able to keep track of things that are sitting there not getting used because they're taking up space. Even though we have patrons requesting new items, we have to make space for them. And I guess I see that very keenly because I work with the librarian at my system branch that deals with pulling these things from the shelf. So I see him sit in a tower of DVDs every day as he does collection development and processes requests for our community. And I think it's so important that we be able to match our checkout time from the DVDs to the books, because it just helps patrons understand a lot more, and it brings a lot more clarity when we're trying to explain all the things you can do with your library card, rather than giving a foot-long sheet of paper to our patrons and it's like, oh, this and that is the requirement. It being the same date is a lot more helpful, I believe, in assisting clarity. So that's it.
Thank you. So we have no further comments and a motion and a second on the table. We'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The last item is the mission statement. Board will discuss revision of the mission statement and then take action. Mr. Judge.
A hand up.
That's the one we have right now. That's the one that was written years ago.
He's gonna do it. Yes, ma'am.
So you see the current mission statement. And one of the things, and this came up today actually, so I was kind of thankful, Ms. Ellie, you had asked this question, when was the last time the mission statement had been looked at? And I think the answer was sometime in the 90s. I thought that was kind of surprising because most businesses, corporations, organizations will tend to look at their mission statement every 5 years, maybe every 10 years, to kind of look forward, you know, where we're going to go, et cetera. So it's been 30 years since this, since we looked at this. The other thing is, because of the laws that have changed in the state regarding libraries and what we want to do, that's an issue. And then the other issue too is, and Larry pointed this out today, we have about $1 million more in revenue than we had before, and that was accomplished without raising taxes or the millage rate, so that's really good for the residents of Lafayette, the taxpayers. And yet we're keeping our expenses very low. So that allows us that ability to, when we look at this Northeast Regional Library and being able to put a library in a place that wasn't served very well, that's going to help that too. And then of course, kind of looking at the cooperation with the other agencies within Lafayette Consolidated Government, and how do we kind of stay in our lane, but at the same time we can use that as a springboard to be able to cooperate with some of the other agencies. So you'll see the proposed statement, and I'll read it out loud for everybody. And again, this is a proposal, and you have in your handout some considerations of why this might be a good thing to do. So the Lafayette Public Library exists to enhance the quality of life of the residents of Lafayette Parish by providing access to high-quality, cost-effective library services that meet the needs and expectations of the community and to provide opportunities for lifelong learning in accordance with this community standards. And of course, the statement about the community standards, the state law was passed, and that was one of the requirements they had in our policy. Now, we do have it in our policy, but again, this kind of gets to the idea of a mission statement and having it sort of the compass by which the ship travels. So that's all I have. Again, the other comments for the board or considerations are some that I've had before.
Excuse me, can we please refrain from the comments?
Can we see
So that
what-
we
Can
can
we
hear?
see this?
I think was better if we missed the word.
Yeah, you left out the verse. I can't believe that.
Okay, so, and the board members, you can, I'm gonna ask to not be interrupted again.
Oh my God, this
Um,
is not
You'll see, the board members, you'll have this sheet as to why, what is a library, public libraries. One of the things that we have here is, if you look at one of the agencies this government has is a community development, and that has to deal with arts and culture, community services, federal programs, flood recovery, but it covers arts and culture. Parks and recreation is specifically for recreation, parks, centers activities, golf courses, therapeutic recreation. Those kind of things belong over there and not, it's kind of an overlap, it seems to be. But again, I want to kind of stress that this was prompted, one, by the state law, and as far as the issue of community standards, and to keep it as broad as possible, but also specific to let recreation do recreation, let cultural enrichment do cultural enrichment, and let the library do what the library does best. And that is, some of the things that were mentioned, and I saw this in some of the advertisement for some of the programs that they had, was they have a seed library. Obviously that's not affected, that wouldn't be affected by this. There was somebody who was a beekeeper that came in and taught people how to do beekeeping and things, and somebody had some goats and they were teaching people how to homestead and things like that. All of those things are not affected by this. They would still remain library driven because it all has to do with learning, right? So that's kind of the mindset of where to go with this. And so that's it. That's all I got. So y'all can take a look at that. Caught it misspelled.
They're changing the mission statement and removing the word diverse from the mission statement.
I think lifelong has a hyphen in between it. Does that fix that? Yeah. And then community should be COMMUNITY apostrophe S, right? Is that right? Yeah, thank you.
Ms. Page, you have any comments about this?
No.
Are you okay with it?
There's no legal issue. Yeah, I'm not gonna answer. Good answer.
So, I'd like to address something. We got several emails today that were concerned that any changes to the mission statement would eliminate access for some people, or free access, or exclude people, or something. So I'm asking the board members, when you look at these revisions and consider this, please take those comments into account that were brought to our attention today, because we want to make sure that I think in the emails we saw, everyone should have free and equal access. I can't remember the others,
why
but
take it out?
so any changes, if there are going to be any changes made, please make sure that you consider that. And if the,
I'm just not gonna look at it. We're going to have a seizure or some shit. Girl.
I'd like to make a motion that the new mission statement be adopted. As read, the Lafayette Public Library exists to enhance the quality of life of the residents of Lafayette Parish by providing access to high-quality, cost-effective library services that meet the needs and expectations of the community, and to provide opportunities for lifelong learning in accordance with this community standards.
I'll second that.
Good Lord.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the table. Public comments?
Yes. Lynette Maia.
My name is Lynette Mahila, and I live in Karen Crow. The mission statement of any organization is a declaration of its guiding principles. It ultimately drives all policy, programming, and the very vision of the institution. To change that is to have a profound effect on the culture of the library and the programs and services it offers. Think about what is being removed here. The words free and equal. The word diverse with respect to our community. And the words recreation and cultural enrichment. Think about that for a minute. What Mr. Judge is referring to when he mentions recreation and cultural enrichment, he means the musical instrument library and the fishing poles. Both of those things are documented from the last time he tried to do this. Neither one of those programs were funded by sources outside the library. The fishing poles were funded by the Department of Wildlife and Fisheries, the musical instrument library by a grant from the 24-Hour Citizen Project. So think about what it means to take these things from our library. Think about what it means to take the word diversity from our mission statement. You should have a packet in your letter signed by nearly 50 librarians from around the state. Many librarians at LPL wanted to sign this, but they did not, out of fear for their jobs. These librarians are only asking you please not to change the mission statement of our library. You all say that you love librarians, you appreciate librarians, and you trust librarians. If that is true, then you should act like it. Thank you.
Ann Swanson.
So Stephanie, you mentioned that there were emails expressing concern about if the library was going to charge for services, if services would no longer be free, if not everyone in the community would be served. And I think it's very telling that those were the exact concerns that were brought up, because those are the exact words that are being proposed for elimination. The word free, the word equal, the phrase diverse communities. And so I want to strongly encourage you to keep the mission statement as it is. It's a good mission statement. It's a solid mission statement. Mr. Judge, you mentioned that it hadn't been revisited since the 90s, but it was revisited recently. It was revisited within the past year, and the board decided to keep the mission. So it was looked at, it was decided to be kept. You added in the phrase community standards. You said that was in compliance with the law, but you also mentioned that the current version of the policy is compliance, so it is not a needed statement in the mission. I urge this board to keep the mission as it is and to send the message to our community that we are going to keep equality in this library, that we're going to keep free services in this library, and that we are going to continue to just serve our diverse communities. Thank you.
Claire Delcom. Claire Delcom, full homeowner and taxpayer, and I support giving my taxes for the betterment of all of the community. This is an obvious ploy to limit community standards to the currently warping fabric of a right-wing so-called Christian, but not Christian, Old Testament driven, loudly and well-organized groups that are bent on excluding some others. If you were a Christian, you'd be loving your neighbor as yourself, and you'd be inclusive, not exclusive. Diversity is inherent in this community. It is not the job of the board to limit the parameters of what community is. And as it was stated before, this was looked at recently, I remember that, and it was agreed to leave it. But we keep coming back and chipping at it. Why is that so important to y'all? Do you think we don't notice? Come on.
Eureka Ross.
Good evening. So I want to stress that I am deeply concerned about the proposed changes to our library's mission statement. The mission statement has guided us for many years and has been a beacon of inclusivity, welcoming all members of our community to access knowledge, resources, and opportunities for personal growth. It is not mere coincidence that these proposed changes come on the heels of recent bans on observing important cultural and historical events, such as the ban of Black History Month, the ban of Women's History Month, and the ban of Pride Month. We cannot turn a blind eye to the underlying motivations behind these changes. They are not driven by a desire to better serve our community, but rather by a divisive agenda that seeks to erase the voice and experience of marginalized people. As Desmond Tutu once said, if you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. We must not be complicit in perpetuating systems of discrimination and equality. Instead of us, reaffirm our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, equality. Everything this current mission statement has is very important that we leave it the same. So it's no surprise, but very disturbing that you're removing the word diverse, because from the looks of this board, it's lacking in diversity.
Anna Gautier.
Yeah, I just have a question. Why remove diversity? And I'm sorry that you won't take the time to answer that, but I really am curious, why would you want to remove that? In fact, as you have it written, the word diverse community would not take away from our mission statement. That's troubling. What's also troubling is this is, as Lynette mentioned, an incredibly fundamental, that's our foundation of our guidance. And you guys are not trained librarians. You don't come from a library background. In fact, Mr. Judge, I remember your very first meeting as a newly appointed board member. This was your mission, to change our mission statement. You got up and asked to change the mission statement. I remember thinking, who does this? You were asking questions. You had very elementary knowledge of many of our policies, but yet you got up and spoke as an authority on what a library should be. So I'm asking you to step back, revisit this, but invite your stakeholders. Invite your diverse community and some library professionals to put something this important together.
Ryan Broussard.
Hello, I am both a community member and a staff member, and lots of what I'm concerned about regarding this mission statement have already been discussed by other community members, but some of my questions are rhetorical in considering the fact that this is very rushed. I am concerned with who came up with this mission statement, as well as how long it took for this to be proposed. As it is very rushed, I don't know if y'all have done information studies in regarding the process people typically do to propose mission statements and come up with them. They're typically done with a committee, like what is being proposed for our recent project. They do a committee that comes together, discusses. Usually this is part of a 5-year plan to make changes that will reflect, for a long-standing time in the community, not over a month. And it is usually done by hired information specialists, typically outside of the community as well, not board members. I'm not saying that you are not part of the community. I'm just saying that historically, in what I've seen during my time as a MLIS student, all the studies I saw regarding, 5-year plans and information development did not do these things in the span of a month. And I'm sure you did not spend the full month because you all have jobs. I'm sure you have families. All the meetings I've attended, you love to remind us about that. So I'm sure you did not spend a full month on this. So I'm sure that this has not been given the time really required to really reflect the needs of the community, as well as the importance and the weight this mission statement will preside over us. I will love to remind you that the library should always be free. It's bad enough that we're not free in the sense of fees, but the fact that the potential we will ask patrons to pay for any kind of programs will absolutely inhibit the part of the mission statement regarding access to things for the community, equitable. Honestly, changes to the mission statement could be made to update it in ways that would make it more modern wording, but a whole restructuring as what is being seen right now really feels very scary.
Melanie Champagne.
Melanie Champagne, Lafayette. Are y'all serious? Are y'all really serious? Let me correct the corrected record. There are no sexually explicit books in the children's library. I know because I went to look for them. So I just want to correct the corrected narrative. You say you're saving the innocence of children. Did you listen to the children that came up here in the past years and months? Did you listen to the young people who spoke on your vilifying of the LGBTQ community or LGBTQ literature? How are you going to fix your face and say that you care about children when you wouldn't even allow book displays? Miss Monroe had to bring that up. She had to reinstitute it so that Black children can see themselves in this library. I don't know if you realize that none of us believe that you are enacting these policies to save children. What law requires you to remove diversity? What law requires you to remove community and put in residents of Lafayette Parish free and equal? I don't know, I'm not familiar with that law, but are you serious? Are you asking us to actually believe this? Look, if it's Christianity that you want, if it's Christ that you want to give us, that's fine. But give it to us by showing some nuance for groups and for books that you don't understand. That would be really great, because you know what? It was never about water fountains, and it's not about books, and it's not about mission statements, and it's certainly not about children. Don't do this. This is foolish. This is foolish.
Garrett Chance. intense. Removing free and equal access, diversity, recreation, and cultural enhancement from the mission statement has absolutely nothing to do with the law. It is an attempt to turn the library into a political propaganda machine. I've studied pedagogy. I know about the value of learning through play. I know the social aspect of learning. I have no idea what lifelong learning in accordance with this community's standards means. I really don't think it means anything. Okay. Finally, I would repeat what's already been said and inform you that the onus is on you to seek the community's input before changing the philosophical foundation of a public institution. Last year alone, 72,995 people came to our programs. You might want to get their input on if you want to yank that rug out from under them or not. Because the library is not your personal play toy. It belongs to the community.
Mary Liz Garcia.
I was a tomboy. That might not surprise most of you, but on my father's tombstone, we've inscribed, he was his own man, and I was his daughter. I didn't play with dolls. I read books, and I played baseball with the boys until they built a treehouse and didn't let me in, and then I quit. But what I'm here tonight to do is to speak to you as now a member of the newly formed Northeast Library Committee, whatever. How am I supposed to go into the majority black community and tell them that we can design anything we want if it relates to a very narrow focus? But we have to stay clear of cultural programs. Do you know how important this is in the black community? I really, really think that is a very unfortunate decision. And recreation. We have children that have a musical talent or want to try to have it. And the library has found a way at no cost to provide these children with instruments so that they can check them out here. And there are other programs. The library had a wonderful program when we had our solar eclipse. And they did a collaborative effort with the Science Children and Science Museum. And so that's another program. And as Kara said, I didn't know that the numbers were that high, but libraries are wonderful places to offer programs because they're safe spaces. That's really, really important. Now I'm going to throw a little curveball in here. I don't see in this proposed mission statement that we can't have recreational or cultural programs. So from a legal standpoint, I'm assuming that the absence of language prohibiting such programs means that indeed we can still have those programs.
Yay. Yay.
So that's just one point. As far as for the community standards, that is such a nebulous term. You know, what is the standard for you and for me are completely different things. There are commonalities. What we want to do is to keep children safe. We want to make libraries a welcoming place. Please consider being much more open and rejecting this change in the mission statement. I think it's going to do more harm than good, and I ask that you vote it down. Thank you.
Betsy Hackett.
Hi, Betsy Hackett. I guess I just have a question. This is the first time that I've come to a meeting, and I just saw the email, and I guess I just don't understand. You said that you were
revisiting the mission statement because it hadn't been done in 30 years, and you wanted to take out diverse and take out equal and take out free. I'm just wondering, are those the things that have changed in the last 30 years? Is all, you know, I guess I just don't understand it, but it's my first meeting, but, and so, anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
That's the end of public comments for this agenda item. We do have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any other comments from the board?
Yeah, I'd like to answer a couple of things. One of them is library services. It says the existing enhanced version provide access to. By the way the library operates, people who are residents of Lafayette can get a library card at no cost. The only people that do pay for library cards are those people that live out of parish. And that's a very minimal fee of $20, which is way less than a homeowner would pay for taxes, for sure. The other thing I noted was there were 3 words that seemed to be a bit of bones of contention. One of them is recreation, cultural enrichment, and diversity. So in the proposed statement, it says expectations of the community. The wording is very similar all along.
We'll add it.
The first saying is the Lafayette Parish Library exists to enhance the quality of life of. That hasn't changed any, that's the same. And it says of our community and the residents of Lafayette Parish. And again, this is a Lafayette Parish Public Library, although other people from neighboring communities do use and have access to it. But again, it's focused on Lafayette because this is our library. By providing access to high quality. So some people mentioned the idea of free. The library is free. Again, but we do have people who do have to pay $20 for a card. Those people do not live in Lafayette Parish. The rest of the sentence is all the same. And then there's diverse community. Well, our community is diverse. It seems to be rather redundant to put that word in there. So again, it's a kind of a tightening up of things. And then lifelong learning. Somebody criticized that statement, but that's in the old library statement as well, lifelong learning, and said that's nebulous. Well, if it's nebulous in the statement that's there now, it's nebulous in the one that we're proposing. In accordance with the community standards. And again, the state law regarding that was passed in last June required that language be in our policy. Well, if that's in our policy, it should be in our mission statement. Sort of again, it's sort of a compass that gives us a direction. The other 2 words, the cultural enrichment and recreation. Again, we have Lafayette Consolidated Government has programs for cultural enrichment, and those. Let's see. We have the Community Development Department, the Hyman Center, Lafayette Science Museum, Acadiana Park, Nature Center, and Trails. Acadian Village all provide cultural enrichment of Lafayette and the larger Acadiana area. So is it necessary that we provide those things when other agencies are doing that, especially in light of the increased costs of maintenance? One of the increased costs that unfortunately we noted in North Regional Library, we were putting a new roof on it. When this was first proposed, the cost was, if I'm not mistaken, $160,000, and it's now $3 something and some change. We don't know. I mean, with the inflation as it is. So we have, again, the idea is to try to keep ourselves in our own lane and drive the library forward in its lane and kind of tighten up a little bit. So, but that's all I have. And you've seen the rationale behind it as well.
If there's no rush, form a committee before making these changes.
It's not time for public comment.
I know it's not, but it's always time to speak up on what's right. That's your problem.
Ms. Ross, I know you're probably glad to live up to your reputation
Well,
of
what
speaking
reputation?
out. Of speaking out.
Oh, thank you.
But we ask that
Change
you
doesn't
please,
happen by being quiet.
we're gonna ask you to please stop with your outbursts. It's not time to speak, or we'll have you escorted out.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any comments from any board discussion? Other than- All right, Ms. Osmo,
Yes. Yes.
Ms. Bruce,
Yes.
Mr. Allen,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly, nay.
And I'll vote yes.
Motion carries. Okay, announcements. Reminder, the next library board meeting will be May 20th. Also, fellow board trustees, our financial disclosures due May 15th. And the yearly ethics training and preventing sexual harassment training must be completed before December 31st of this year. We have public comments on any library business which is not on this agenda.
Yes. Lynette Maya.
I would like to ask, once again, why the board does not give more information about agenda items. The proposed changes to the library mission statement were not posted before the meeting, making it extremely difficult for members of the public to understand or prepare for public comment. Why is this board so hostile to public information? I understand that you may not like some of the things we have to say, but that does not change our right to say it. Several of you, at one time or another, have stood at this very podium and exercised your First Amendment right to comment on library business. You did so with the information you needed to understand what the board was voting on. I only ask that you extend to us the same courtesy that was given to you. On the subject of misinformation, I would also like to point out that the recently passed book display ban does not follow state policy. Nowhere in Act 436, now RS 25-225, does it specify anything about book displays, and neither does it ever mention books on human sexuality, including books on development and puberty, which you banned. The law simply requires a tiered card system and reconsideration policies to be put in place regarding sexual conduct, and it describes that conduct. And I have the law pulled up right here, so we can read it if we need to. So I just want to clear that up. Thank you.
Ryan Broussard.
Hello, I wanted to address the display policy changes as a staff member who has their own displays in the library that is not in the children's department, so should not be really reachable to children's hands outside of their parents not watching them. If they're so young that they could potentially be struck from innocence in some kind of way. However, that can happen, as was referenced earlier. So yes, some of the particular things that were said, let's see, protecting children and parental rights. I don't know how that becomes an issue legally, other than we do require in our policies that
parents watch their children within the library, as the library is not a kindergarten, so we don't let them run free, and we ask that they do get watched by their parents. But specific points is the phrase human sexuality. It is such a vague term. Staff have been so concerned at complying to these display policy guidelines that this vague term of human sexuality makes it to where we cannot have any books on display, except maybe books about rocks, maybe plants, because plants have sex, but it's not human sex, so it's fine, I guess. But human sexuality is displayed in the fact that I exist because my parents had sex at some point, and that is a representation of human sexuality. I'm very aware that this term is being used to represent a very specific community without saying the word for legal purposes, but you're making it to where we cannot have any displays, so you either have to clarify at the expense of your own bigotry, but that's up to you. But human, yes.
No personal attacks, please.
She need to reclaim her minutes.
It's not personal if I haven't named anyone.
Claim her time.
But hey,
Addressing the board and calling us bigots.
Reclaim her time.
Okay, so yes, human sexuality is entirely too vague to be able to require us to adhere to them and have any book displays.
You can shake your head.
Melanie Champagne.
Okay, Mr. Judge said something inaccurate. Diverse community is not repetitive, because diverse is an adjective. It is a modifier, and it modifies community. So you ask yourself, what kind of community? A diverse one. So it's not the same, because you could have a homogeneous community, a large community, a small community, an online community. So diverse community is not repeating itself. It's not redundant. It modifies. It tells you something about the community. And what it tells this community is that you don't like diversity in the community. Secondly, I want to address the fact that last meeting I was here, Ms. Arsenault was telling our Ms. Monroe that the charts or the graphs or the collections or the type of Excel sheets that she was looking for, after Ms. Monroe said that it would be a lot of work, you told her it would not be a lot of work. She said it would add to people's day. You said it's fine, you'll figure it out, it'll be easy, and now we have a resignation. Just put that together, okay? You may not like that you just railroaded through the employee's day, but you did so. Also, thank you, Mr. Kelly, for being the one person to stand up for diversity.
Mary Lynn Curcio.
Boy, this is a mess. I will never stay in my lane. We should not want our children to stay in their lanes. We should want our children, since that's what the fundamental issue is here, we should want our children to be all that they can be. And you can't be all that you can be without exposing yourself to the big wide world. I'm going to tell you right now that I'm going to work hard on the Northeast Library Commission, but I am going to encourage them to host recreational and cultural programming in their community. That may not be appropriate in South Lafayette. They may want their libraries to deal with more computer, high-tech, whatever. But I think that each library that is reflective of their community and serves their communities and is being right now invited to give their ideas for what they want their library to be like should not be straitjacketed. Recreational programs may have their place, more so in Northeast Lafayette, Mr. Judge, because these children may not have transportation access to get to some of these areas. So there are all kinds of reasons why libraries are community centers. That's what they really are. They're taxpayer-paid community centers that offer lifelong learning opportunities, including books, including videos, tapes, computers, etc. Don't limit our children's futures. If you limit your own children's futures and their world, but let our children be all that they can be. Let's give them all the recreation and the culture that they need, and that'll make them be safer, happier, and more productive adults. I guarantee it. Thank you.
Arts, Connor.
Interim Director Olivia, we'll miss you. Good luck wherever you go. Thank you for this opportunity. I've been fighting with my voice, and I want to thank all the speech therapists in the world that have helped me get this far. And I would like to read a poem. It's nothing to do with what you're talking about. It's my Mother's Day poem. Would you be willing to listen? It's a sonnet. It's less than 14 words. Thank you. I'll say you can okay. Thank you. All right, this is my sonnet, ladies and gentlemen. It's called Gun Sonnet. It says, every time we moved into a new house, my father would always ask my mother, how safe do you feel here? Should I buy a gun? And invariably her answer is just four words. No, we are Christians. Now I realize that not everybody shares my mother's theology. But the actuarial tables, that's the insurance companies, the actuarial tables do show that it is true. Households without a gun are safer than those that do. One less gun lying around is one less mistake that can abound. Say it with me. One less gun lying around is one less mistake that can abound. Give yourself a big round of applause. Thank you. I'll see you next time.
That's it. Yes.
Okay, so finish the agenda items. Mr. Allen, would you close us in prayer so we can adjourn?
Yes, ma'am. If everyone please stand. Lord, we thank you for this opportunity to come together, to reason together as a community. Although we may have different opinions and different perspectives, we thank you, Lord, for respect and honor amongst all of us as we work to be able to embody what it is to be a people that care for